And welcome back to the Upside Sports Network. My name is Michael. Appreciate you guys joining us for some Tuesday night baseball anyway, watching some Mets versus Braves. First inning so far has been fairly uneventful anyway. Nimmo led off for the Mets anyway, got a base hit. Marte grounded into a double play, and then Lindor lined out to right. Acuna walked so far in the bottom half of the first and just got thrown out at second. And that's kind of where we're at right now with Dansby Swanson up right now. He is just took a ball just on the outside, or just off the outside corner, anyway, from Taijuan Walker, and it's now 3-2. It's incredible how well the Mets starting pitching has been this year, how much they've been able to rely on some of their 3, 4, 5 starters, even in the wake of Jacob deGrom's injury that kept him out all the way until about a week ago. As Dansby Swanson works a walk, back-to-back walks here for the Braves. However, there's only one man on right now. Other headlines to keep an eye on around Major League Baseball right now. The New York Yankees are yet again losing to the Tampa Bay Rays. They have lost 10 of their last 12. They're in one serious slump, and they just lost DJ LeMahieu to injury. If you've watched MLB Network anyway, Pedro Martinez believes this is a significant blow to that team. I'm right there with you, Pedro. As Riley fouls that one away. And it's 0-1. Appreciate you guys taking time out of your Tuesday evening to join us. Got a little bit different setup that we're going with over the past couple of days. Still getting used to it, but it's working a lot better than it did that first night. We appreciate you guys bearing with us over the past week as we've tried to make some changes to improve the live. You can kind of see as they flip through the scores down here. You can see the Marlins are beating the Padres. Phillies beating the Reds anyway. So we really do appreciate you guys joining us. Walker throws over to first, and Swanson's back in there safely. Swanson having a career year. As you might expect, it is his contract year, so of course he's going to have his best year in that year as he tries to play for a better deal. We'll see how he responds to it. That one misses low and away, and it's now 2-1. Yeah. I just got that done today. Had a little bit of time while I was trying to get everything ready. Got a fresh haircut, shave, and everything. Literally just finished shaving. 2-2 now on Austin Riley. Thanks for joining us again, Ryan. Appreciate it. Yeah. I just got that done today. Had a little bit of... There. Another pickoff attempt by Walker. They already tried to steal on him once, but Acuna was thrown out at second. This one is lifted down the right field line by Riley. A long run over. Underneath it, though, is Marte and makes the catch. 2 away. Yeah, I grew up a Braves fan, but pretty much most of my favorite Atlanta Braves players are no longer on the team. Freddie Freeman was the last of that group. I've enjoyed Scherzer for years with the Nationals. I even cheered for him with the Dodgers, surprisingly. But no longer a dog in the fight, anyway. This one's popped up behind the pitcher's mound. Walker is there and makes the catch. Nice play there by the pitcher. And that's the end of the first. No runs, 1 hit, no errors for the Mets. No runs, no hits, no errors for the Braves. 2 walks in the inning, however. And we'll go to the top of the second. It'll be Alonso, Vogelbach, and McNeil for the Mets. Charlie Morton is your starter for the Braves. Thank you guys for joining us. If you haven't hit that like button already, please do so. Really appreciate that. Checking in on some of the other scores from around Major League Baseball. Reds on top of the Phillies now, 3-2 in the bottom of the third. Marlins still in front of the Padres, 1-0. Cubs over the Nationals, 1-0. Red Sox over the Pirates, 4-0. Rays are still in front of the Yankees, 3-0. Blue Jays in front of the Orioles, 2-0. Tigers 3-1 over the Guardians right now. They currently hold the AL Central lead right now. However, the Twins have gone through a very rough stretch. Got to imagine that Twins lineup is going to start clicking on all cylinders, especially with the changes they made to that starting rotation and the bullpen. Right now, the Twins game versus the Royals is scoreless. Later on this evening, it'll be the Rockies versus the Cardinals, A's versus Rangers, Astros versus White Sox, Dodgers versus Brewers, Mariners versus Angels, and then in the nightcap, Diamondbacks versus Giants. Alonso digging in. Hitting .279 on the year, 29 home runs, 97 RBIs, and an .892 OPS. Gotta love that 2-3-4 in the lineup for the Mets. Would really have liked to have seen them gone out and made that deal with the Red Sox at the deadline, bringing in Christian Vazquez and JD Martinez. I think that really would have done wonders for this lineup. Even as good as Daniel Vogelbach has been, such a minor trade is really paying dividends for the Mets. I think they still could have done more. Not to mention bringing in other options that they had out there, maybe a Wilson Contreras from the Cubs. But of course, the Cubs weren't really interested in the pieces that they had. They did end up getting Michael Givens from the Cubs anyway. Some of the other pieces that they're chasing, Josh Bell, who ended up going to the Padres in that Juan Soto deal. Alonso takes low, and it's 1-1. The 1-1 by Morton is well inside and almost at the feet. 2-1. NFL season is upon us. Fantasy football drafts are kicking off for a bunch of you guys. Welcome back, Clay. Well, I think the Mets need to win a playoff series for sure to win for this season to be a success. As much money as they're pouring into this team right now, swung on and missed. Kind of an excuse me swing there by Alonso, and it's now 2-2. But as much as they invested, bringing in Max Scherzer at $43.5 million a year, ouch. You'd like to see them at least get to the NLCS with as much as they've invested. That one goes all the way to the backstop by Morton, not even close. 3-2 now. Looks like he overthrew that one. We'll check in on the standings here at the break of the inning anyway. The 3-2 coming from Morton. And the pitch. Right on the outside corner. Beautiful pitch. Alonso's left there as a statue. And that's the first out of the inning. Nice strikeout there by Morton. Charlie Morton is not the same pitcher he once was with the Houston Astros. And it kind of shows anyway. But in his last 10 starts anyway, he's got a 2.89 ERA, an opponent average of 186, struck out 75 of the opposing batters anyway, and only 18 walks. and struck out about 33% of batters. He's been the best starter over that stretch anyway for the Braves. Got to wonder if he can continue this stretch or if this is just something we're going to see right now. And then as he kind of wears down as the season goes on, something like that might happen for the Braves. But he's pitched very well. Vogelbach digging in, hitting .239 on the year, 15 homers, 45 RBIs, and a .798 OPS. Yeah. Their roster is definitely on the older side. I mean, just look at their rotation. DeGrom and Scherzer. Even if they re-sign DeGrom, you might be looking at, 2-3 good years of elite-level starting pitching from either one of those? But then you also have to remember, DeGrom just missed 162 games because of an arm issue that he wasn't able to pitch at the end of last season or all the way up until about a week ago. Max Scherzer, of course, had his dead arm issue in the playoffs last year. How often have you heard of Max Scherzer turning down the ball at any point in his career? And in Game 6, in a do-or-die game for the Dodgers, he says, "No thanks, you take it, Walker Buehler." There's a lot of teams out there that have starting rotation issues. Mets are just one of them. I thought they should have added a 5th, 6th starter. Somebody who could at least eat a few innings, skip a start for DeGrom as we go down the stretch of the season. Skip a start for Scherzer, something like that. I mean, they have really good 3, 4, 5 guys in Carrasco, Bassett, and Taijuan Walker. But I still think they could have used one more starter so that way they're not pushing so many innings out of their top starters. 3-2 now on Vogelbach. The pitch by Morton. Another one dots the outside corner. Maybe that's the scouting report, is that he tries to get opposing batters to chase, but both Alonso and Vogelbach both stand there with the bat on their shoulders as they watch strike 3 cross home plate. They weren't necessarily that close to the edge. I mean, they were close, but I mean, those clearly a strike, and both of those batters just stood there and just waited and waited and waited. It'll be McNeil next. Should he reach, it'll be Tyler Naquin and Devin Marrero after that. McNeil hitting .315 on the year, takes high for ball 1. McNeil having a very bright year for them. 7 home runs, 46 RBIs, and an .830 OPS. Chokes up on the bat. Swung on and missed. Looks like he was a little bit out in front of that off-speed pitch, 88 mile an hour by Charlie Morton. Morton up to 31 pitches here in the top of the second. Takes a look around. Truist Park anyway in Atlanta. Mets on the road. Swung on, and I guess they're going to call that a foul tip. It's now 1-2. Thank you guys for joining us. If you haven't hit that like or subscribe button yet, please do so. Appreciate you guys joining us. Welcome in, Mr. Tracy. Trade Acuna. He's on probably the most valuable contract in the sport. I don't know if you'd want to trade him, even if you got the best prospects from another team. Another strike 3, bat on the shoulder. Strikes out the side, all 3 of them looking. Morton's got it working today. Through 1.5, no score. That's exactly what I was saying. As the Marlins, as you can see, go up 2-0. Why in the world would they trade Acuna exactly? I mean, say you even get a Juan Soto type package back for just him, and then some. There's no reason to trade for trade Acuna. Now, if you're an opposing team, you absolutely want that contract. Heck, I'm sure every single team in the league would give up probably their top 5 prospects and maybe one of their top starting pitchers, young starting pitchers at the major league level to have that production on that contract. The surplus value on that deal is out of this world. Braves got a steal. The one player I think that you might be able to trade for now because of his off-the-field concerns, welcome in JL. The one player I think you could trade for because of his off-the-field concerns is now Fernando Tatis. I think the Padres could be convinced to let go of their starting shortstop anyway, after his off-the-field issues resulted in him missing 3 months of the season due to an injury after having multiple motorcycle accidents this offseason. He said all the right things coming back, but he still didn't take care of his injury before he reported to spring training. And then he said, "Oh, I guess I do have an injury," and then it sat him out for 3 months while they repaired it. And then after he's finally starting to get his way or work his way back into the league, work his way back into the starting lineup anyway, the team makes the trade for Josh Hader. They make the trade for Josh Bell. They make the trade for Juan Soto. They make so many moves. They've added to that starting staff. The starting staff's been consistent all year round. They're ready to go. This team is firing on all cylinders as far as acquisitions and people in the right places and those kinds of things. And all they need is just the motor to make this thing go. And what does he do? Gets suspended for 80 games. Sorry, but he might be the one guy that could be available right now if you want somebody of that ilk, that type of a contract available. So no, I don't think that Acuna will be traded ever. But Tatis will be really interesting just because there's going to be a significant shortstop crop out there. So maybe another team will be convinced and say, hey, this guy is so young. He's got a great value, et cetera, et cetera. His marketability is off the charts. As long as we can keep his head right, maybe you convince the Padres to trade Tatis away, and then they sign one of the top shortstops this offseason, maybe bringing back their former top prospect, Trey Turner, stealing him away from the Dodgers. Now, wouldn't that be interesting? But and they get to recoup some of the assets they just lost for Soto. That might be realistic. Soroka, everybody keeps forgetting about Mike Soroka anyway. At one point, he was the best pitcher for the Atlanta Braves anyway. I just wonder how effective he's going to be coming back. I just wonder how much he has left in that tank, really. Yeah, hey, Anthony. That's kind of what I was thinking originally, because it sounds like Trey Turner ultimately does want to go back to the East Coast. But maybe the Red Sox could be a fit with Bogarts now a free agent. The Phillies are going to get a shortstop this year. I mean, they just have gotten zero production. They cut Didi Gregorius. Yeah, exactly. And hasn't he had 2 major surgeries since then? That's why I wonder if he's able to ever become that starting pitcher that he once was. Darno lines one through the hole between short and third. Leadoff knock here for the Braves. Thank you guys for joining us. Appreciate it. If you haven't hit that subscribe button already, please do so. See if we can reach 650 by the end of this stream. Yeah. But it was also on the Braves for how they used him in that in the postseason. They kind of mismanaged that starting staff back in the series they had. I want to say that was the year he faced the St. Louis Cardinals anyway. And then the spring training afterward, they could have done better by him. They pushed him a little bit beyond his means anyway in the postseason. Then when he came back for spring training, it's basically been downhill ever since. Strider has been great. He actually has had interesting comments before both of his last 2 starts anyway, saying that the Mets in his previous start against the Mets anyway had a lot of good luck, and they ended up winning like 7-1 in that game. This time Strider got the better of him, and they won 13-1. Devers would be a perfect piece for them, and imagine stealing him away from the Boston Red Sox as they go through a rebuild, or at least a semi-rebuild anyway. Contreras grounds this one to third, flipped onto first, and the double play is recorded. Nice job by the Mets there, erasing that base hit. Strider has been nasty. He could be in consideration for NL Rookie of the Year. Well, it's very difficult for any team to go back-to-back, even without Freddie Freeman. Soroka would be the best pitcher if he's healthy, and if he stays healthy, and if he's still as good of a player as he was back then. It's been at least, 2+ years now since we've seen Soroka? I want to see him pitch 5 innings every single start out for at least a couple of months before I say, hey, he's back. He's their ace. You need to prove it on the mound. Just like DeGrom, when he came back, I wanted to see a couple of good starts. It's been about, 2 weeks now? I still want to see him stay healthy the rest of the year. But that starting staff for the Mets looks lethal right now. Wright's just having a great year. He's not their best pitcher. Max Fried is probably their game one starter right now. Morton's in that mix. Wright's in that mix. Anderson last year, as good as he was pitching last year, would have been in that mix, but he has not been very good this year. In fact, he was optioned not too long ago. More of a roster tinkering move, but it still speaks to how Anderson's fallen off this year. He's still very young and can figure it out, but he's kind of a three-pitch mix type of a pitcher. You always worry about their longevity if they start to lose their feel for one of their pitches, if they're going to be able to stay effective. But yes, Max Fried is definitely better than Kyle Wright. Through 2 innings now, no runs, 1 hit, no errors for each. Yeah, Fried has been significant. I do think Anderson will eventually become that ace that they were hoping he would be. He just has a really good stuff anyway as far as the as far as that 3-pitch mix. I just wonder if he adds a 4th offering to kind of keep hitters off balance. Doesn't need to throw it a whole lot. I mean, his 3 pitches are great already, but when you lose feel for one of those, you start seeing the struggles that you have right now. But yes, if they get Soroka back, they have Strider, they have Wright, Fried, they have some good young starting pitching, and they've got a core 4 now locked up for the Braves. And just imagine if they lock up Dansby Swanson as well. They got Acuna, Albies, Riley, and I know I'm forgetting one. Matt Olson. Welcome back, we appreciate you for joining us again. Well, yeah, he's going to want out of that Twins contract. He signed it because he wanted to get the opt-out after the first year and get the nice number over $100 million. But he's going to make $35 million this year. He's going to opt out. And then if the Twins win a playoff series this year, I think there's a good chance they end up keeping him in Minnesota. I think he's enjoyed playing in Minnesota. However, I think if the Yankees come charging for him and offer him that big deal, now bear in mind I don't think they will. In fact, I really don't think they will because they have Peraza and Volpe. They already have IKF there. I mean, I think they should have made the move this offseason instead of making the trade for Donaldson. That lineup would look so much better right now with Carlos Correa, especially with the struggles they're going through, the leadership he brings to a team. From what I saw, he was projected as a number 2 though. His peripherals, correct, were never great, but he had great strikeout numbers. From what I remember anyway. Let me pull it up. It's been too long since I looked it up. Morton working to Naquin here in the top of the 3rd. 1-2 now. Mets win a close one, 17-2. All right, so let's see. Last year, in his age 23 season, Ian Anderson had a 3.58 ERA, 128 innings pitched, 124 strikeouts, so about a strikeout per inning type of a pitcher. Walks, of course, were a little bit of an issue, 53 walks over that 128 innings. Finished 5th in the Rookie of the Year voting. Let's see his numbers. Wright has always had better stuff, but the issue with pitchers who have great stuff is can they control it? Just like for the Orioles right now, DL Hall has unbelievable stuff, but has struggles with command. Mets bullpen is already throwing. That's kind of surprising. Maybe Walker has an injury? I don't know. I don't know if this is really just a clip of them showing somebody in the bullpen anyway. Have the sound off for the game, so I don't hear why he's loosening up anyway. Harris versus... Okay, that's a little reactionary. Harris is better than Acuna. No. Not close. Sorry. That's a prisoner of the moment type of thinking. Wright does have better stuff, I do believe. He just has horrible command and has for at least the last couple of years. This is the first year he's actually had better command, and his stuff has fallen off. Fried is able to command his stuff a lot better, and that's why his stuff looks a whole lot better. But that's always been Wright's issue, is that he's not been able to keep that same effectiveness, that same quality of stuff, and have command anyway. That's what I was saying. Wright has better movement on his pitches, etc., better stuff, but again, worse command. When he tamps it down, he detracts from that movement, which makes Max Fried a better lefty starter. Do I think he's the best lefty starter in the league? No. I don't know. I could be convinced that he's in that top 5, but I don't think I could make the argument that he is the best starter or left-handed starter in the league. You don't think Max Fried will ever be a 20-game winner? I'd be surprised if he isn't already. Let me take a look. He's at 10 wins this year. Hold on. Go away. He had 17 wins back in 2019. In the league shortened season, he had a 7-0 record. Last year, 14 wins. So yeah, he doesn't have a 20-game winner. Left-handed starter? Come on. Kershaw's not in that class anymore. Can I get my computer to work? Hold on just a second. Yeah. I don't know. I'd put Julio Urias close in that list anyway. I know nobody ever gives him the pub, but he's been effective for a very long time. He's got a 2.4 ERA. Yeah. I don't know. I think Julio Urias might be right there. I don't know about that. I need to see more out of him. I don't. For left-handed starters, he would be up there. No, where is he? Anderson's not there. Rodon, I'd put in that list. I'm not sure I'd put him ahead of Fried, but I think I'd put him in that top 5 right now. Cortez, no. Sorry. Need to see another year of it. Eventually, I think Shane McClanahan will be up there. Just needs more seasoning, honestly, before I put real faith in him. But yeah, I'd probably put Rodon, Urias, Fried as the, top of the Rushmore there. Wow, the Mets did indeed pull Walker. Alvarez is in. Gotta wonder if there was some type of an issue. See if I can find out for you guys. One away as Valdez gets the strikeout. Still no news anyway. We'll see what the reasoning is. Grossman is up. He was one of the trade deadline acquisitions for the Atlanta Braves. Takes outside 2-0 now. Now one finds the inside corner, 2-1 to Grossman. Still trying to find out the reason for the change anyway with Walker. The 2-1 pitch here to Grossman. That one is up and over the home run fence anyway. That's a home run there for Robbie Grossman. Cross that one off your bingo card if you had Robbie Grossman with the first run of the game. Fireworks go off in Atlanta. Nice piece of hitting there. Again, the Braves got hot last year when those trade deadline acquisitions nobody thought was really great, but they had to get somebody to play the outfield. This year they add a whole bunch of no-name talents anyway, and Adrianza, Grossman, etc. Tinker around with that staff as well, bringing in some depth in that starting staff with Jake Odorizzi, bringing in Raisel Iglesias. Nobody having a breakout year for any one of those trade candidates, but all just nice pieces to help this team kind of keep going as they push for a repeat chance this year. 1-0 here in the bottom of the third. Acuna takes inside 1-0. That one goes behind Acuna's back. Acuna just kind of looked at him like, what are you doing? That one was literally thrown behind the back of Acuna. That one just slipped out of his hand. That almost hit the bat or his bat behind his head as it went back all the way to the backstop before making contact with anything. Yeah. Alex Anthopoulos is pushing all the right buttons. Well, if you'll remember, the Jays had pushed all their chips to the center a few years back. The team that was Josh Donaldson, Jose Bautista, Edwin Encarnacion, and it looked like the end of that tenure there with the Jays as that group kind of went away. The 3-0 pitch goes right down the middle, and yet Acuna tries to take a few steps toward first base. I mean, I can understand why opposing teams absolutely hate Ronald Acuna, but he's dynamic, man. That one misses all the way in the other batter's box. Alvarez is all over the place with his command right now. Now we'll see a mound visit here. As you can see, the A's go up 1-0 against the Rangers. Still curious why they pulled Taijuan Walker anyway. Was it just that he saw something? I don't know. Getting loud there in Atlanta. Exactly. Chisholm, Tatis, Robert, Tim Anderson, Julio Rodriguez. Julio Rodriguez should definitely be the AL Rookie of the Year. The impact that he had the minute he came up. World Series predictions. Well, I did put out my podcast. Not a lot of traction on it yet, but I just literally started that up, and we'll start putting some more out a little bit more consistently as we get these changes that we made to the YouTube up and running. But as I mentioned, my World Series prediction kind of thrown off because of the Tatis news. I set my predictions anyway right before that news broke, like 8 hours before, and I had the Blue Jays facing the Padres for the World Series. Obviously now, with no Tatis, I think the Dodgers probably take that divisional round matchup against the Padres. I think the Dodgers probably edge out the Mets in the NLCS, and so I'd put the Dodgers in there. Yeah, Julio is fantastic. And now the Mariners have Mitch Haniger back. How many of you guys forgot how good Mitch Haniger was? Every single one of you out there? And just as this season keeps going and going, he's going to be another engine fire starter for that team. Welcome in, Nick. Well, it's very early in the game. That's why you don't bring out your best relief pitchers early in the game. You save those for later in the game. That's why you let players like RJ Alvarez, if you have an issue with their starting staff, you have to put somebody in the game. Got to wonder if they had some better long relief options. In fact, I thought the Mets should have gone out and got a 5th, 6th starter. So if they had done that, maybe they have a better long reliever in the bullpen. Well, I still think they're too good not to get out of a wild card, or not to get out of the wild card round. I think they're probably going to be in that 4-5 matchup against the loser of this division anyway, the Mets versus Braves. I think the Braves probably lose this division anyway to the Mets. I think the Mets starting staff has just been too good this year. And while I think the Mets could have done more, I think they've still done enough to at least take... Wow, Alvarez is just horrible. And wow, Acuna is yet again thrown out at second. Oh my goodness. That pitch goes all the way to the backstop, bounces right back to home plate. They throw him out at second. We'll see what ends up happening here. But if this is not, wow. Padres, I think, have enough talent to get by the Braves, at least this year. Yep. I don't know if Acuna was in there or not. I think the Phillies end up beating out the Cardinals for that final wild card spot. Yep, Acuna is again out at second. That's just embarrassing. Mm, mm, mm. Not sure yet. There's no news yet on Twitter anyway. Trying to see if there's anybody putting out some reports, but I haven't seen it. I have the sound off to the game, so if any of you guys are watching the game live, let us know what happened with Taijuan Walker. Nice catch there by Jeff McNeil over the shoulder on a full sprint. Makes a nice catch there to retire Dansby Swanson. And at the end of the third inning, the only run scores on the by the Robbie Grossman home run to lead it off. To the top of the fourth we go. No runs, 1 hit, no errors for the Mets. 1 run, 2 hits, no errors for the Braves. It'll be Nimmo, Marte, and Lindor for the Mets against Charlie Morton. I don't know. I still think the Phillies end up taking that final wild card spot. I mentioned in one of my lives a couple of days ago anyway that the Phillies had gotten some bad news anyway on Bryce Harper, that there was some stiffness in his elbow. Well, today apparently he's ramped up his activity now and is actually taking batting practice. We'll see what ends up happening with Bryce Harper, see if he can come back before the season. But if they get Bryce Harper back before the end of the year, that's all you need. To make sure you beat out the Cardinals for that final wild card spot. And then you have a real chance. Then you probably face the Brewers in the first round anyway. I don't know about that. I think the Padres just need time to adjust with Soto now, the engine of that team. Yeah, the last wild card is not going to be that competitive, I don't think, unless they get Bryce Harper back and Bryce Harper's back to being Bryce Harper. I don't think the Cards will win the Central. I think the Brewers end up taking that. There's the update on Mike Soroka. We were mentioning him earlier in low A. Pitched 4 innings, gave up 1 hit, 8 strikeouts in 45 pitches. Wow. Of course, it is A ball, low A ball to be exact. But it seems like he's ramping up his innings anyway. Maybe he's a September call-up for the Braves. But again, do not rush Mike Soroka if you're the Braves. They did that, pushing him beyond his limits in the postseason a couple of years ago. And just imagine how useful he would have been in the World Series last year for the Braves. Even though they won it, Mike Soroka would have been their ace last year had he been healthy. But of course, the injury issues have held him back. Yeah, I think the Centrals right now are both being held by pretending teams anyway, the Guardians and the Cardinals. I think both of those teams end up falling back. I don't like the acquisitions the Cardinals made. I think they did a disservice to their fan base saying, hey, we're in on Montas. Hey, we're in on Castillo. Hey, we're in on Juan Soto. And what did they end up with? The same starting pitchers that they ended up last year with. John Lester and J.A. Happ are this year's Jose Quintana and Jordan Montgomery. Now, Montgomery, of course, is a lot younger and has more youth left in him and could potentially be a piece for them going forward. But that's not something they're writing home about. Another strikeout by Morton. Wow, he's got it working today. Just looking at his numbers so far, Morton has 5 strikeouts now. It'll It'll be Starling Marte next. He grounded into a double play his last at bat. But yeah, as I mentioned, the Twins have gone through a tough patch of their schedule. They just faced the Dodgers on their 12-game win streak anyway. Tough to go into Dodger Stadium and win on the road anyway, but they seem to be coming back. The White Sox surprisingly have treaded a little bit of water, a little bit better than I thought they would have with the injury to Tim Anderson. Eventually, though, I think it's going to be too much for them to overcome. Marte grounds that one back behind home plate. Foul. 1-1. Excuse me, swing there by Marte, and it's 1-2. The Brewers' offense, I think, is awful, but I think the moves that they made at the deadline, trading away Hader, made their team better for the long term. However, one of those pieces that they got in that deal, Dinelson Lamet, was DFA'd by them and has since been claimed by the Colorado Rockies. A little bit surprising that they opted to get rid of a 5th, 6th starter type. Of course, they had Peralta coming back from the IL, and they needed somebody off of that active roster, so he was the odd man out. Marte kind of flips this one just foul down the first base line, and we'll do it again. 1-2 here in the top of the 4th. Braves in front, 1-0. But as I was saying, the Twins, I believe, will end up taking the AL Central. I just don't think the Guardians are going to be able to hang around at the level that the Twins are. I think the Twins are just that much better. Buxton is there. As long as he stays healthy down the stretch, which is no given, and as long as that starting staff stays healthy, they should be fine. They added some nice pieces to that bullpen, as again, another strikeout by Morton. Another Mets batter just leaves with his bat on his shoulder. Wow. That's 6 strikeouts now, 4 of them looking, at least, that I've seen. He's dotting those corners now. But I think the Brewers made the right move by trading away Hader and getting some pieces back for him. Got a nice prospect in Gasser. Got a 4th outfielder in Ruiz, and got a closer back in return in Rogers. Hader didn't have the same value that he did last year or the year before, and so they still turned him into 4 players, 3 after the DFA'd Lamet. Yep, I saw that it was replaced by the Juan Soto shirt something or other, Sun City shirt or something, like Solo City, I can't remember. That's hilarious. No, I think the Padres right now are still sorting through what they want to do, as Lindor gets a nice base hit there. Alonso due up next. But I think the Padres still have a lot of soul searching to do with what they want to do with Fernando Tatis Jr. He's going to miss the rest of this year. He's going to miss a little bit of next year. And I'm still wondering if they're going to go ahead and try to sign a shortstop this offseason. In fact, before the announcement of the suspension, I posited that they had him working out in center field in his rehab assignment anyway before the news came out of his suspension. I wonder if they would have shifted Tatis Jr. at some point to center field had they been able to bring in a shortstop during free agents anyway, like Trey Turner or a Bogart, somebody like that, and then really try to propel this team forward. They do have a little bit of room. They still need to get the Soto deal done. They need to bring back Bell. Drury's going to be a free agent as well, but this team is ready to go as long as that starting pitching remains as consistent as it's been this year. Maybe add a bullpen piece. They got a lot of money tied up in that bullpen that's not actually pitching for them now. Drew Pomeranz should be back next year. He's getting $10 million, I think, this year. Swung on and missed by Alonso. He was way out in front of that one. But because they were experimenting with him in center field in the minors already as he was rehabbing back. Now, of course, it could have just been, lip service just to try to give his arm a break, give his feet a day off from being in the dirt, and allow him to still play the field by allowing him to play center. But I think if in a pinch, maybe they would have allowed Kim to play short this season, and just depending on the team anyway, put him in center. Will Myers could have played first. They could have done different things with if they had been able to move around Fernando Tatis. They have a lot of multi-position type of players in Profar, in Kim, in Myers, in Drury. Cronenworth can move around the diamond as well. They got a lot of those type of players. I think they were trying to add Tatis Jr. to that mix. But now with him getting that 80-game suspension, I think if you could convince the Padres that, hey, you can recoup the prospects you lost in that Juan Soto deal by trading away Tatis Jr., give up the headache, and then bring in a actual professional player like a Trey Turner, like a Xander Bogaerts, somebody like that, they could keep right on chugging and be just fine. And maybe some team out there that's trying to accelerate their win curve, say like the Texas Rangers, they invested a lot this year, $50 million in that team. They still need a good contact hitter. In fact, I think they're going to be a dark horse candidate this offseason for Trey Turner. So kind of keep your eyes out there. But I still think Trey Turner right now is probably 40-60 to stay with the Dodgers. But the shortstop class this year should be happening. We got Swanson, Correa, Turner, Bogaerts. And the Rangers walked away last offseason with two of them, in Semien and Seager. Wouldn't put it past them to try to bring in another. They just fired their manager, Chris Woodward, who helped with the pitch anyway to Corey Seager. Now he's gone, but they got him under contract. You can't void that deal now just because you fired the manager. So they got their guy that they wanted in free agency. Now I wonder if they're going to help use that manager spot as another recruiting tool to bring in a top free agent. To the bottom of the fourth we go. Alvarez is still out there for the Mets. He took over for Walker after 2 innings pitched. Still haven't heard any news. Yeah, but the Rangers are still going to have like $75 million in payroll that they're going to have to add next year. I expect them to add at least 2 big-time salary players. So you're looking at 1 aircraft carrier, possibly in Turner. So that's $30 million of that 70. Or 75 anyway. They still got to bring back Perez. I think that's probably 15, maybe 20. And then they're going to go out and get another starting pitcher. Now, Kershaw, I think he's got on a 1-year deal. Maybe he's the guy they go after. But, of course, you have injury issues there. I think the one name that people aren't paying attention to, though, for the Rangers is Carlos Rodon. There's a lot of teams that are going to be in on his market. If they can convince him to go there, say, hey, we'll give you that long-term deal that you wanted last offseason that no team was willing to give you. We'll give you 5 years at $125 million. Well, have you seen how Corey Seager's adjusted his swing this year? He's no longer just the contact hitter that just gets a couple of doubles every game. He still gets his doubles, but his average has taken a little bit of hit. They're not going to move him to third base. They're going to move him to left field if they move him. Rodon, I think, would be a great pickup for that rotation. But here's how I see the Rangers doing it if they're able to make a move for, say, a guy like Trey Turner. Simeon's probably going to be your second baseman for at least the next 3 to 5 years, I believe. He's on a 7-year deal. If, in fact, he's not able to finish out that deal, you can still move him out to the DH spot, that kind of thing. Move him as a utility infielder because he's already a little bit of a utility infielder already. Corey Seager, as he ages, there was already talk about him moving to a designated hitter spot. But again, you only have one DH spot. You think you could move him to third if you had to, but you have Josh Young coming up. He's probably going to be your starting third baseman next year, maybe even your left fielder, depending on what you do in free agency. But say you bring him immediately in this year. Say you have Semien, Seager, and Turner for the Rangers. Turner probably takes over as your third base left field guy. Simeon's still at second, and Seager's probably your shortstop for now. A walk here to Olsen. The Mets have given up a ton of walks so far here today. Morton through 4 innings has not allowed any and only given up 2 hits. I still think they need to get a pitcher. and keep Martin Perez. They didn't trade him at the deadline, I think, because they want to get that deal negotiated during the season. I think a deal like 3 years, 45 gets the thing done for Martin Perez. He just got engaged. He really wants to stay in Texas, has a lot of connections there. This is his second go-around in Texas, and I don't think he wants to move anywhere else. I think he's done trying to prove himself in the majors, and this year his numbers are proven to be great. Yeah, his slug is down a little bit anyway, but the reason being is because they've adjusted his swing to make for a bigger launch angle, and it's working. I mean, the average is starting to come back up. They're having him be aggressive at the plate, swinging at a lot of first pitch and second pitch strikes. Now with the manager being gone, I wonder if they're going to change that tactic next year and allow him to be a little bit more patient like he was with the Dodgers. Look at Marcus Semion's numbers, how horrible he started this year. Now he's back to his career averages over the last 3 months. Big swing there by Olson, a towering fly ball to right, and that one is, wow, that's a moonshot. That's over the roof. Anyway, out in right field. 2 home runs so far in the game. That's a 2-run shot there by Olson. It's now 3-0 Braves here in the bottom of the 4th. That's Olson's 25th of the year. Wow. This Braves team is going to be fantastic. Still surprised they took out Walker. Still haven't seen any news on it, though. Nope, still no news on it. But as far as welcome in, Declan. It works, right? Although you can see the scar anyway right there. When I was a kid, bashing my head against a table or something, I think. But we were talking a little bit about Corey Seager. The changes he's made to his swing this year have not worked out as far as his average, and of course it took a while for that for those changes to really cement themselves. He's still dealing with a little bit of that, but that average is slowly starting to creep up over the last couple of months. Next year, I think with a new coaching staff in there, they're going to change that approach, allow Corey Seager to be the same hitter he once was. Darno with another hit out to left field. He's 2 for 2. Olson does have an interesting swing. He reminds me a lot of Chris Davis with that swing, which is a little bit scary. But he seems to have found a way to not strike out nearly as much as Chris Davis. Swung on and missed by Contreras, 0-1. Oakland A's prospect Shea Langeliers was called up to the majors today in his first at-bat with the A's. That's a double. Sorry, Atlanta Braves fans. You lost Freddie Freeman. Got a great contract, though, for Matt Olson. So you're going to have to make it work. Yeah, we touched on that a little bit. Bryce Harper, there was mixed reports about last week anyway, saying that he had a setback in his rehab process, saying that he had stiffness in his elbow. Sounds like it was only temporary because they were shutting him down at that time. But now he's already started to come back up anyway. He was taking BP today. Brandon Marsh injury. Schwarber anyway tweaked his hammy. Thank you guys for joining us. If you're just joining us, hit that like and subscribe button. Watching the Mets versus the Braves here in the bottom of the 4th. Braves in front 3-0. Walker was pulled after 2 innings. Still have yet to hear any word on why he was pulled, though. Nice base hit out into left again. Drops in front of Naquin. I think it's Naquin in left today, or is it Nimmo? Yep, it's Naquin in left. Braves are starting to get some solid contact here off of Alvarez. The Grossman homer last inning. 2-run homer by Olson. 2 base hits by d'Arnaud. Grissom up there now, 0 for 1 today. Pops the bunt up and out of play. I don't know if they're giving up. I think if they need some innings out of Alvarez, which is the only reason why I think he's still in there. If you can get a little bit later in the game, then you can get to your late inning guys. Have Ottavino go an inning, Givens go an inning, Lugo go an inning, Diaz go an inning. But you need at least 2 innings here from Alvarez tonight. Grissom hitting .409 on the year, 2 homers, 4 RBIs, and a 1,200 OPS. Got his first home run in Fenway over the Green Monster. Michael Harris on deck. Grissom drops to a knee but fouls that one off. Still 0-2. Thank you guys for joining us. Appreciate the likes. Mets do have the bullpen going a little bit. Nogosek is indeed loosening out there. Orioles have come back to tie it in the 5th against the Blue Jays there. That's a great pitch there by Alvarez right at the bottom of the zone, and Grissom strikes out looking. Home plate umpire's been very fair tonight. Michael Harris in the month of August, 13 games so far, has a .348 average, over 1,000 OPS, 7 extra base hits, 9 RBIs, hitting over .500 with runners in scoring position, which is important because he's got a runner in scoring position right now. We'll see if he can come through in the clutch again. Another one right at the knees. 0-1 there to Harris. Yeah, but you still got to keep an eye out for that bullpen for the Braves. They added some pieces back there, but I'm not fully sold that it's going to solve all their woes. Alvarez gets over there and records the out at first, 2 away. Runners move over to second and third. Grossman, who hit the home run off of Alvarez last time, will be due next. Gotta imagine they're going to pull him. And let Nogosek face Grossman. Grossman raised that average on that home run up to .212. That was his 3rd home run of the year. 25 RBIs. Very surprised they haven't pulled Alvarez yet. That one right down the middle, 0-1. Showalter really thinking this game. You can tell just the way he's got that face clenched over there in the Mets dugout. Swung on and missed, 0-2. Alvarez gets ahead here of Grissom. Got to think he's not going to see another pitch to hit the rest of this at bat. Even with Acuna on deck. Another one lifted out to right center, but this one looks like it's going to be playable, and Marte is there, and the side is retired. However, two more come across here in the bottom of the fourth on the two-run home run by Matt Olson, and it's Braves 3, Mets to nothing. Appreciate you guys joining us here on a Tuesday evening. Just to let you guys know, we will be putting out some fantasy football stuff this week, as ESPN is doing their fantasy football marathon, wrapping that up right now. But we'll get into our coverage of that as we get closer to the season. If you play fantasy football, you know to draft your team as close as you can to the start of the season, just in case there is an injury. You don't want to lose anybody before the season starts. But we'll give you a breakdown of some of the top players at each position. Do a podcast on that as well. You can find us on Spotify and on Google Podcasts. Checking in on some of the other scores from around Major League Baseball. Tigers currently in front of the Guardians 4-1. Phillies in front of the Reds 6-3. Miami still in front of the Padres 3-0 in the bottom of the sixth. Cubs in front of the Nationals 4-0 bottom of sixth. Red Sox 5-0 over the Pirates right now, also in the bottom of the sixth. In the top of the sixth, Rays are on top of the Yankees 3-1. Yankees, of course, have lost 10 of their last 12 games and have been shut out in 4 of their last 9. Things are not looking good for that Yankees offense. Of course, today, they finally at least scratch a run across the board, so they will not be shut out today. Blue Jays and Orioles are tied in the bottom of the fifth. Twins have jumped out to a 2-0 lead against the Royals. Cardinals and Rockies scoreless. Oakland in front of the Rangers 2-0. Astros and White Sox scoreless. Brewers right now lead the Dodgers 2-0. And the rest of the games have not yet started anyway. Yeah, Morton is looking very good today. He's been fantastic over his last 10 starts. But I wonder if they're going to burn those bullets during the summer here, and he might wear down at the end of the season. They did do the right thing and went out and got another starter in Jake Odorizzi. Yeah, but they haven't been losing as bad as the Blue Jays, though, or as bad as the Yankees. Vogelbach 1-1 now. Little tapper foul, now 1-2. Let's check in on some of those standings anyway. The Yankees right now are 3 games back of the Astros for the best record in the American League. The Blue Jays, as we mentioned, are about 10 games back. About a month, or well, not a month ago, but about 3 weeks ago, they were 15 back. So they are climbing, but as I mentioned before, I don't think they're going to end up catching the Yankees. I still think the Blue Jays, though, have a better team all the way around, and they're still my favorite to end up going to the World Series in the American League. Even with their struggles right now, George Springer being on the IL, adjusting to Whit Merrifield being in the lineup, etc. That offense out of the All-Star break was hitting on all cylinders, and now it's starting to fall back a little bit. I think they'll pick it up again. They fired their manager earlier this season as well. Another strikeout for Morton. He's got 7 so far in 4 1/3. Morton looking great here today, though. If they can get this level of Charlie Morton in the postseason, Braves just might have a chance to repeat. But again, I wonder if he's going to burn out before the end of the year. The 0-1 to McNeil. Hard hit down the line, but foul. And it's 0-2. The rest of the standings in the American League, like I mentioned, the Cleveland Guardians right now are on top of the Minnesota Twins by about 2.5 games, it looks like. 1.5 games, somewhere in there. But I still think the Twins have a better team overall. I think they have the better staff. I think they have the better bullpen, and I think they're going to have the better lineup as well when it's all said and done. Twins, I think, end up taking the division. I'm surprised how well Baltimore's played. I expect them to peter off, though, towards the end of the year. But this is great experience for that young core. They will spend money in free agency this year. We'll see where they spend that money. My guess is probably for a starter. The 0-2 by Morton. Swung on and missed. Another strikeout for Morton. He's just got it working today. 8 strikeouts, 4 2/3 innings, only 2 hits so far. No walks. And this isn't a bad offensive lineup for the Mets right now. McNeil hitting over 310 anyway. You got Alonso, Marte, and Lindor. Nimmo's hit well so far this year. Naquin in his time with the Mets so far this year has done well. Naquin coming over from the Cincinnati Reds, hitting .253, 10 homers. You might remember him from his time with the Cleveland Guardians. Swung on and missed as that pitch bounced in the dirt. I'm still waiting to hear. I haven't seen any headlines on it yet. Constantly refreshing my Twitter anyway, just to see if they've posted anything. In fact, let me just search it on Google. All right. They're saying back spasms. He left the game due to back spasms. They sounds relatively minor. They're expecting him to still be make his next start, but they're not going to make a determination until the next day or two. But this is still very preliminary. No, not an arm injury. It's going to be back spasms for Taijuan Walker. I mean, he wasn't pitching very well today. He had given up a couple of walks. Another strikeout for Charlie Morton. Strikes out the side again. He's got it working today. Remember how I told you the Mets needed to bring in an arm? Well, if these back spasms turn out to be a little bit more serious, you might have to rely on Jacob deGrom a little bit more than you would have liked to, especially after burning the bullpen as much as they have so far today. I expect Nogasek to come out here in the top of the 5th. It'll be Acuna, Swanson, and Riley for the Braves. Morton is very hit and miss, but so far in his last 10 starts has pitched to a .289 earned run average. Been the best Brave starter over that stretch as well. Thank you for the subscribe. Appreciate that. If you haven't already hit that subscribe button already, please do so. See if we can hit 650 by the end of the day. I believe so. I think the Mets are deep enough as far as getting through the wild card round, mainly because their top-end talent, I think, is better than the other top-end talent that they'll be facing. especially with the 1-2 in that lineup being, or 1-2 in that rotation, DeGrom and Scherzer, however you want to stack them up. But if you're going to have to rely on them a little bit more than you'd like to here in August and September, maybe they wear down again. Remember Scherzer with the dead arm in Game 6 of the NLCS? I will never forget that. Max Scherzer not taking the ball when it was his turn to pitch. I mean, you would have thought up until that game, he would literally have to have his arm missing, like nothing here, nothing, for him to not take the ball. And instead, he opted to tell his manager, no, give the ball to Walker Buehler. And we saw how that ended up. Braves won the game and won the series. That one bounced in the dirt. Alvarez still out here, though, pitching to Acuna. Maybe they're trying to save that bullpen a little bit. Acuna has 2 walks in the game. He also has been thrown out at second base twice. Another one low, and it's 3-0. This might be the 3rd straight walk for Ronald Acuna. Someone stole Walker's arm. Well, Walker Buehler, he's going to be out the rest of the year. 4-pitch walk there to Acuna. We'll save their bullpen for tomorrow. The season's 162 games long. There's no reason to sell out for one game. You don't want to finish 1 in 161. Dansby Swanson, who's also gotten a walk today, hitting .293, 16 home runs and 64 RBIs. Mets already getting that bullpen going yet again. I bet you they're going to end up going with Nogasek, who was loosening earlier. We'll see if Acuna tries to steal a base here. That one right on the outside corner, 0-1. That's not even right, Nick. I mean, this is a tough spot for Alvarez to come in. 3rd inning, you weren't expecting to come in till probably the 5th or 6th tonight. You had your game plan coming in. That pitch misses well up and in. You're on the road. Hostile divisional opponent. And sure, you're going to have to pitch against him at some point, but this is a lot longer than I think he thought he was going to pitch. Swung on and missed 1-2. Swanson trying to knock that one all the way around the world. Twins stretching their lead to 3-0 now against the Royals. Not every pitcher on every team has an ERA below 2. Little soft roller out to Lindor. Ooh, Swanson I thought might have actually had it, but Lindor I think might have beat him by half a step. We'll have to take a look at the replay. Braves are taking a look at it. I don't think it's overly rated because it's not necessarily considered one of the best bullpens in the league. I think they have the best closer in all of baseball by a mile in Edwin Diaz. Then they have a number of guys who are good 7th, 8th inning guys, but not necessarily great. Givens has been a great one in the past and has worked with Showalter before. Alvarez is taken out here after recording the out. It'll be Austin Riley and Matt Olson due next. Alvarez has bounced around the league for a little bit now. I think, anyway. I'll have to take a look. There he is. Alrighty. RJ Alvarez. This is his first or second appearance anyway with the Mets so far this year. He started his career with the San Diego Padres in 2014, spent some time with Oakland in 15, and then I'm guessing went independent ball international between then and now. Formerly a third-round pick of the LA Angels back in 2012. Givens Up Runs might be his new name. That's hilarious. Walker, for those of you who are just joining us, Taijuan Walker was taken out of the game after the second inning due to back spasms. Sounds like this was largely a precautionary measure. He was not very crisp with his location today, gave up a couple of walks earlier. First pitch here to Riley is served into center. Nimmo makes the catch, and Acuna will stay at second. Second out of the inning, it is indeed Steven Nogaset who is in. Not every... Okay, come on, Nick. He's not exactly Clayton Kershaw. He's not in his prime. He's not exactly Edwin Diaz in his prime. Not every pitcher is going to come out there and throw lights out. There's a reason why he was on in the third inning of a game that they lose a starter in. No, he's not playing. Olsen takes the first pitch here and pops it up. And McNeil makes the play. Nogaset, 2 pitches, 2 outs. Nice work there by number 85. Morton to come back out here for the top of the 6th. Braves in front, 3-0. In case you've missed it, Walker pitched 2 innings so far today and was relieved after that due to back spasms. In the interim, 2 home runs for the Braves, drove in all 3 runs. Grossman hit a solo shot to right, and then in the 4th inning, Matt Olson hit a 2-run shot out to right. Oh, I think they'll have close to 120 or 115 wrapped up in 3 pitchers next year. When you look at Diaz, Scherzer, DeGrom. Welcome in, TC. With that name, you remind me of TC from Magnum. For those of you who hadn't heard, he passed away the other day. It's 3-0 here as they go to the 6th. Come on, Nick. Get a grip. Base hit, a walk, and a home run, and it's a tie ball game. DeGrom, I probably will get close to that. I wonder, if he stays healthy, I think he gets close to that. But there is going to be outside interest in DeGrom as well. I wonder how much higher the Mets are going to go for him. They haven't been price averse so far. In fact, offering $130 million over 3 years to Scherzer when he was coming off of a dead arm when he turned down the ball in Game 6 of the NLCS. I thought that would have hurt his market value, but no, it did not. Devin Marrero is up there. First pitch right on the outside corner, 0-1. Thank you guys for joining us. Appreciate it. This is your first time with us. Hit that like button and subscribe. Trying to reach 650 by the end of the day. Let's see if we can get there. If you're already a subscriber, thank you very much. We appreciate it. I don't know if the Dodgers could steal him. Kershaw's not on a big deal this year. Bauer, of course, on the suspension list, as you mentioned. But I think DeGrom, that could be an option for him. But if there was a choice between the Mets and Dodgers and money's equal, I think the Mets end up keeping him. Now, the more interesting thing will be if other teams come for him as well, because I think the Dodgers are good this year, but I'm starting to wonder about their long-term future. Trading away a bunch of pieces, selling out. They've had a great 6-7 years now. They're teams that are great right now aren't necessarily teams that are going to be great in 10 years. The few exceptions, of course, over time have been the New York Yankees, etc., etc. But it's been a very long time, a very long time since the Yankees won a World Series. Swung on and missed, and another strikeout. Wow. Charlie Morton is on another level right now. Through 5 1/3, only 2 hits, no walks, and 10, count them, 10 strikeouts. Michael Perez up there now, doing the catching for the Mets today. Hitting 147, 5 homers, and 11 RBIs. 1-1 as he swings at that one in the dirt. Nice defense there by the Braves. Second out of the 6th here. Appreciate you guys joining us here for some Tuesday night baseball anyway. And yes, I have Optum internet, unfortunately, hence the internet issues, so I appreciate you guys sticking around for us. Strike one here to Nimmo. He's 1 for 2 on the day. Morton up to 80 pitches now, is absolutely pounding the strike zone. 54 strikes to 26 balls. Nice curveball again, right on the outside corner, dotting it up. Score of the Padres game right now. Padres are tied 3-3. Sorry for the spammers, guys. Might have to switch this chat to subscribers only. Orioles have taken a 4-2 lead. Yep. Let me flip over to that game real quick just so I can see what the scoring was. Manny Machado hit a double. That scored 3. Kim, Profar, and Soto all scored on a RBI double by Manny Machado in the top of the 7th with 2 outs. They go to the bottom of the 7th after Cronenworth just flied out. Orioles are a nice story. They're going to be good in a couple of years. I think they're on the outside looking into the wild card picture right now in the American League. I think they'll add a nice starter this offseason anyway. I think their play up the middle is going to get a lot better over the next couple of years. Broadcast of the Braves game, going over the catcher comparison between the two teams, between the Mets and Braves. Mets catchers so far this year have only 3 home runs. Meanwhile, the Braves have 26. Manoah getting shelled? I wouldn't call 4 runs being shelled. But yeah, I think the Orioles are on an incredible run right now. Do I think they'll end up getting a wild card spot? No. Welcome in, Randy. Appreciate you joining us. Yeah, he left due to back spasms. Darno is going to be retired here for the first time, lifting this one out to left. Naquin is there and makes the catch for the first out of the bottom of the 6th. Got to think this offseason the Mets are going to address their catching situation. Bring in somebody who has a little bit better stick back there. Their production behind the plate has been abysmal. Contreras hitting .260 this year, 16 home runs, 32 RBIs, and an .852 OPS. I wouldn't be too worried even if Toronto loses today and tomorrow. I'm still not worried about the Toronto Blue Jays. All they have to do is get to the postseason healthy, and I like them in pretty much any series in the American League. And yes, I understand. They haven't played as well as they should have all year. They were my preseason favorite to make the World Series. I'm still sticking by them even as of now. This is just the dog days of summer. I imagine they'll turn it on as we turn the calendar to September. I think they're more just treading water at this point. Most teams are. The only team that's having issues that might be a little bit more long-term is the New York Yankees. And that's because their issues started with the starting staff, and they've now permeated the lineup. Now they have DJ LeMahieu out, and even Anthony Rizzo is starting to feel the tension there. One of the coolest cats in the league now has an episode in the dugout. Not often you see that coming from him. In fact, checking on the scoreboard anyway. Yankees are still down 3-1 in the bottom of the 7th. They do have a runner on second with only 1 away. 3, yeah, I believe so. Contreras is one of them. Harris is another. Grissom is another. Well, the Yanks just need to get their head on right, first and foremost. They shouldn't be counting on their minor league team to bail them out yet again. Yeah, their core is pretty darn young. Just look at Acuna. He's still very young. Albies, very young. And they're going to have free agent in Dansby Swanson. I wonder if they get his contract done. And then they'd have a core 5 now. Nogasek bounces that one in, and it's 1-1 to Grissom. Yeah. And don't forget Olsen. Base it there by Grissom. And I think their starting pitching is still very young, but they're starting to run low on top prospects. Got to wonder how much more that minor league system's going to produce. Maybe. Save the money and turn around and spend it as a starting pitcher. They took on all the money of Raisel Iglesias. Hoping he can have a bounce back year next year. Grissom gets a nice lead off of first. This one's fouled right back off the catcher. 0-1. Maybe they could work out that contract with Fried. They still have Soroka in-house. He shouldn't be very costly for them. Wright shouldn't be very costly even after a good year this year. Fried? Good question. See if I can pull it up anyway. All right, so after this year, Kenley Jansen's a free agent. Charlie Morton has a club option. Dansby Swanson's a free agent. Duvall's a free agent. So they're going to have some money coming off the books at least. Rosario signed for another year at least. Odorizzi has a player option. Max Fried has 2 ARB years left. Grossman's a free agent. Luke Jackson's a free agent. Soroka's got 2 ARB years left after this one, but his number should not be very high. He's only at 2.8 this year. Matzik has 2 years left. And their pre-ARB guys, Kyle Wright has 1 more pre-ARB year. Strider, of course. Contreras. Yeah. But the players just negotiated it as well. I mean, they do have a lot more incentives now for those pre-ARB guys and those ARB eligible guys that should raise up the salaries. They do make a fair amount of money, especially if you have one good year in an arbitration type of year. But you have to go based off of what your previous ARB number was. So if you get a good starting point, you have a real chance to make some serious coin through arbitration. Yep. Just looking at their actual salary for just this year, just looking at this year's salary, their payroll is only at 181. Next year it'll be 152 depending on who they keep, etc. They have 9 players signed through 2026 at only 68 million that year. Ridiculous. Yeah. Olson's out there, Riley. Strider's a stud so far. I want to see how he follows it up next year, though. All these young pitchers around the league, I wonder how good they're going to be in the long term. Marte tries to get a bunt hit. Doesn't get it down in fair play or fair territory. Morton looking for his 11th strikeout of the day. Swung on and missed by Marte. That's the 11th strikeout now. Morton's been cooking all day here in the top of the 7th. Well, I'm in East Texas right now anyway, about an hour and a half east of Dallas. I'll take their weather, I think. I mean, everybody says their weather's bad, and I guess I might be one of those, but still. But I like the way the Rangers are coming up over the next couple of years. Who's your team, Clay? Nice base hit there by Lindor, serving that one out into left, beating the shift. It'll be Alonso next, followed by Vogelbach. See if the Braves get that bullpen going now with Morton hitting 86 pitches. Yeah, I think everybody would. The Braves have a ridiculous amount of talent, but I do like the way the Rangers have built it up. They got a lot of good minor league pitchers coming along now. We'll see if they can get them all to actually come to the big leagues. If they still had the open roof and still had to deal with the heat, I don't think they would have had the same ability to cultivate the pitching that they do now. A little bit more of a pitcher's park as opposed to a hitter's park. Yeah. That was right on the outside corner, but unable to frame it properly, though. And it's 1-0 here to Alonso. You got Leiter, Wynn, Rocker. Reagan's just came up and made a start. Otto, of course, is young. They invested a lot of a lot of their draft capital in starting pitching this year. Now they just need to get the pitching to show at the major league level. Dane Dunning was probably the big trade piece that they got that's actually performed decently well as a starter. But it's going to have to be all on the minors or the Rangers anyway. Yeah. Alonso goes around, and it's 1-2 now. Yeah, that's why the Rangers need to get a more consistent at-bat anyway, somebody who can get some contact. That's why I think a guy right now that fits them perfectly, has some pop, a good contact hitter, Trey Turner. And has wheels, but of course the wheels will go. But I think Trey Turner's added a lot of power over the past couple of years. You might be surprised to know he had like 28 home runs last year. Kumar getting rocked in the minors. He hadn't pitched yet. Swung on and missed, and yet another strikeout for Charlie Morton. Wow. 12 strikeouts through 6 2/3. Absolutely filthy. Yeah. I think the Rangers, as long as they finish within 20 games of 500, well, maybe not 20 games of 500, finish within like 10, within eyesight of 500, they have a real chance to draw some free agent interest. Bringing in some key veterans like Seager and Simeon last year. Gray should be much healthier next year, has had blister issues and that kind of a thing this year. If they can re-sign Perez, then they'll have a good 1-2, and then whoever they bring in as that third starter. Just imagine if they do end up getting Carlos Rodon, he takes over as your 1, Perez is your 2, Gray is your 3, and then eventually you'll have some combination of those young guys as that 4-5. Heck, if you get Clayton Kershaw, you can't count on him for a whole year. Two 0 here to Vogelbach. 0 for 2 with a couple of strikeouts today. Steve Cohen? No, I thought he was some hedge fund manager. Has insane amounts of money that he's okay just losing a whole bunch of money to tax, etc., etc. Two and one here to Vogelbach. Well, he's going to pay luxury tax anyway on this team. Now, as far as federal taxes, that's a different conversation. 2-2 here. Tapped foul by Vogelbach, and we'll do it again. Morton up to 95 pitches. Got to imagine this is the final inning here for Morton, but what a great start. If he gets Vogelbach here, it'll be 7 shutout innings, only allowing 3 hits and 12 strikeouts. Just an absolute fantastic start by Morton. Continuing his stretch of 10 straight starts, now 11. That one just off the outside corner. 3-2. Still has yet to walk a batter. If he does walk Vogelbach, I wonder if they do pull him. Chipper Jones looking on. Longtime Atlanta Brave. Hall of Famer. That one's in the dirt, ball 4. And finally keeping the bat on the shoulder on a 3-2 pitch. Pays off for the Mets. They now have 2 on with 2 outs. Snitker's coming out of the dugout for the Braves. That might be it for Charlie Morton. Yep, it looks like it will be. 6 2/3, 3 hits, 1 walk, 12 strikeouts. Fantastic work there by Charlie Morton. 12 Ks is pretty nasty no matter how you slice it up. McNeil will be up. Ran into a little bit of trouble here in the 7th, giving up his first walk. While we wait for the new pitcher Dylan Lee to come into the game, just kind of check in on some of the other scores from around baseball anyway. Phillies have extended their lead against the Reds 8-3 anyway. Marlins have come back and taken another lead against the Padres. It's now 4-3. Cubs 4-2 over the Nats, 5-2 Red Sox over Pirates. Through 7.5, it's Rays over the Yankees, Orioles 4-2 over the Blue Jays, Tigers 4-1 over the Guardians, Twins 3-0 over the White Sox. Cardinals 3-1 over the Rockies. However, they are threatening in the top of the 6th with the bases loaded right now. Oakland's winning over Texas 3-0. Astros 2-1 over the White Sox. Brewers 2-0 over the Brewers. Or over the Dodgers anyway. And then the nightcap, the Angels and Mariners are just about to get underway along with the Diamondbacks and Giants. First pitch by Lee, swung on and missed there by McNeil. That's wrong, Ryan. He's going to be suspended for the year. I'd put money on that right now. Even though the 6-game suspension by Sue Robinson was handed down, it's being appealed by the NFL, and the arbiter in that, it sounds like is leaning more the NFL's way, sounding more like a year-long suspension minimum. However, the NFL wants it to be indefinite. That way he still has to show consistent good behavior off the field before they actually allow him to rejoin the ranks of the top NFL quarterbacks. The 0-2 pitch here by Lee. In the dirt, ball 1. If you watched our update anyway last night, we talked a little bit about the inconsistent model of suspensions that the football's handed down over the past year. It's been inconsistent pretty much since the dawn of their suspensions anyway. But just looking at their past year of suspensions, Deshaun Watson gets 6 games for what he did. Calvin Ridley gets an entire year for betting on his own team. Now Alvin Kamara, who normally would be put on the commissioner's exempt list when you look at cases like Adrian Peterson, where there was child abuse allegations, etc., etc. Usually that type of thing gets somebody like that on a commissioner's exempt list for a year, and then finally once the legal side wraps up, then they get handed down the 6, 10 year-long suspension. Nope, not for Alvin Kamara, who had a felony battery charge go up against him. In all honesty, he is very lucky he didn't do worse damage than he did. He ended up putting the man in the hospital. The man didn't even get his hands up to defend himself on Pro Bowl weekend. What a black eye that was for the NFL. You'd think the NFL would take something like that a lot more seriously, especially considering it was their flagship event going on in Vegas at the time. Trying to get Vegas a foothold there for football. And then you have that happen. I was actually in Vegas at the time. That was big news. Took a couple of different Ubers anyway, and that's all they would talk about. Yeah. You don't you don't think Watson plays another snap? He's got a 5-year, $230 million guaranteed contract. And that was signed after the revelations came out. Now, if it was signed beforehand, you could rip up the thing and say morals clause. Where's the morals clause in that if you're giving it to him knowing that going in? McNeil fouls that one off yet again. It's now 3-2. Runners will be going with 2 outs. But the inconsistent way NFL has handled these things, I think the one for Kamara is very relatable to Adrian Peterson. Same kind of level of seriousness, the way their allegations were handled. Adrian Peterson missed what? An entire year due to commissioner's exempt list, and then another year due to suspension. He would be our all-time leading rusher very likely if he had been still on the active roster those two seasons. Strike 3 there by Lee, and we go to the bottom of the 8th anyway, or bottom of the 7th, excuse me. Braves in front, 3-0. I don't think they're going to settle on 8 games. I think it's either going to be a year or indefinite like the NFL wants it. I think it was a mistake for the Browns to do what they did. I think it was a mistake by the Texans to not do it originally anyway. He already has missed a year because of the issues, whether you believe it's the off-the-field stuff that kept him from being on the team last year, or whether you believe it was the trade request, etc. But he's already been out a year now. But I think because I understand your point, Clay. I just think because it was signed after the revelations came out, even though the court cases, or the civil cases anyway, hadn't been settled yet, I think it says a lot that they gave him $230 million fully guaranteed, even with those allegations there. And they supposedly did their due diligence. I'm sure they said a few things in that press conference to introduce Deshaun Watson that there's no way for them to back out of that contract now. And what are you going to do? Just let him sit at home for $230 million? You already took the black eye for it, so what's the difference now? You don't want to keep getting a black eye? Texans settled with all the accusers against them as well. I'm sure they'll eventually turn their sights to the Cleveland Browns. The NFL also having to settle with them. Here in the bottom of the 7th, it looks like it'll be Steven Nogasek still on the mound. Robbie Grossman with a solo home run earlier today will lead it off. Acuna next and Swanson to follow. In case you're just joining us here at the Upside, we cover the MLB, NFL, NBA, and the NHL. We do a daily video for you guys at 10 o'clock. If we do have a live going on that goes through the 10 o'clock hour, it will immediately be following that final live that we do that day. Appreciate you guys joining us as we cross the 2-hour mark. Thank you guys. If you've hit that like button, we appreciate it. If you haven't already, please do so. All right, Ryan. Careful there. No matter your feelings on what happened or didn't happen with Watson, what happened or didn't happen with Ridley, what happened or didn't happen with Peterson, what happened or didn't happen with Kamara, we can all agree the NFL and their model for suspensions just leaves a lot to be desired. And I think that's the bigger issue that I have with the Kamara basically not being suspended or put it on the commissioner's exempt list this year. I mean, I know Watson gets all the headlines, but I think the bigger story for the NFL, aside from how the Watson situation has been played, they go to the neutral arbiter and Sue Robinson. I thought she was going to throw the book at him, but she found him to be very forthright and said that the NFL's own model of doing suspensions is why she gave him a 6-game suspension. I understand it, which again leads to the bigger issue of their suspension model. And when you look at the Alvin Kamara model, what he did on Pro Bowl weekend, video evidence, apologizing to the guy afterwards, saying, "Hey, I even got the wrong guy. I was blinded by rage, didn't see what I was doing." He was immediately taken into custody. There was no, "Oh, it was an honest mistake." No, you did what you did, Alvin Kamara. So I still don't understand why they're waiting an entire year before they hand down a suspension. It took multiple people to pull Alvin Kamara off the guy. No matter what he thought he heard, what he thought he saw, the actions he took were correctly charged felony battery. And he should be sitting out a year at least because while the NFL tries to sort through the legal issue, of course, waiting for that to find a resolution. I understand why the NFL wants to wait to hand down a suspension first, but we've seen this happen before. While the legal case is ongoing, you put them on the commissioner's exempt list. I think if Kamara was a quarterback, we'd be talking about this every single day. But he's not. Trainers coming out to check on the catcher Perez after taking that one off the dome. But yeah, Alvin Kamara next year, I expect a lengthy suspension for him once this all gets solved. We'll see how the legal process goes, if he ends up serving time or not. It's a pretty open and shut case, honestly, which is why I'm surprised the NFL isn't taking this a little bit more seriously. Acuna pops up the 2-2 pitch, out of play, and we'll do it again. Thank you guys for joining us. Appreciate it. Charges will not be dropped. They have it on video. Allen's upstairs, 3-2 now. So for those of you, keep an eye out for Alvin Kamara next year. I would certainly drop him down, maybe even off of your fantasy board next year, depending on how big of the suspension ends up being. Kind of surprised the NFL isn't going ahead and at least doing something, but I understand them wanting to at least see how the legal stuff goes first. I think he already got paid. I'm not sure if Kamara already offered him money or if they settled out of court already, but I remember hearing somewhere that he actually already got paid in that too. Another walk for Acuna. How many walks is this for Acuna today? It's what, 4? Yeah, that's 4 walks. Has not had an official at bat today. Unbelievable. Are the Mets just that afraid to pitch to Ronald Acuna? Or are they just that incapable of throwing a strike to Ronald Acuna? I think it's more of the latter. Still 3-0. Braves in front here in the bottom of the 7th, 1 away. Dansby Swanson digging in with a .293 average, 16 homers, 64 RBIs. This is a guy that will get paid for sure this offseason in Dansby Swanson, as Nogasek bounces that one in. Seth Lugo loosening for the Mets out there. Acuna is just that talented. I agree. Appreciate you guys joining us. Yeah, ignore that little alert anyway. We got to fix that part still. But every time we get a subscriber or something like that, it will pop up like that. This one's lifted into left center field gap, gets down, and Acuna is going around to third. Misplayed out there in the outfield. Acuna is hustling. He will score. Nice play there. Acuna scoring from first. He was flying, absolutely flying around the base paths. That's why Ronald Acuna is that valuable. Tracy, I know you were saying earlier that Acuna is, worse than Michael Harris. There's a reason why. One of the many reasons why Ronald Acuna is so much more valuable than anything else the Braves have right now. Just look at that speed, picking them up and putting them down. Phillies laying it now on the Cincinnati Reds. It's 11-3. Nogasek is out. It will be Lugo coming in. I mean, just look at that hustle from Acuna. For those of you wondering, Tampa Bay is still in front on the Yankees. Aaron Judge just bounced out. To end the bottom of the 8th anyway. One game has gone final. The Red Sox beat the Pirates 5-3. All the other games are now underway. Dodgers have come back to tie at 2-2. The other game we were kind of keeping an eye on, the Padres versus the Marlins, now is 4-3. Marlins in front as they go to the bottom of the 8th. Cubs and Nationals have now become tied. Guardians have got on another run, and it's now 4-2. Tigers still in front of the Guardians, though. Do I think Bauer will come back? Yes. He hasn't been able to pitch or be around major league level trainers, etc., for a while now. And so once he gets back in the big leagues, I mean, every dog has their day. I mean, even in the minor leagues, you look at other pitchers who come back on rehab assignments, you see them get shelled and they don't care. They were just working on a fastball or they were working on a curveball. But I think Bauer eventually will come back, probably next year if I had to guess. I don't think he'll be back this year at all. I think there's way too much that needs to be solved before that happens. But I think next year we'll see Trevor Bauer back in Major League Baseball. Probably going to see some type of lengthy official suspension for him, but I think we could see him back probably by mid-season next year. Dodgers would love to have him back. Well, he's currently ineligible. I think this offseason they're going to try to finally get some uh, decisions made about when he comes back, how long he's officially going to be gone for. It's not like he's officially gone from baseball for life, like um, Pete Rose or anything like that. No, well, remember when he signed with the Dodgers, it was a 3-year deal. Another base hit there by Olson. It's now 5-0 Braves as Swanson scores from second. 101 off the bat for Olson. d'Arnaud due next. But for those of you wondering, he signed that massive deal, getting $35 million a year. And he's basically been receiving all of that money. The Players Association and the league just constantly extending his leave of absence anyway, paid leave of absence, week after week after week after week after week after week after week, until finally here we are, almost a year and a half later now. He pitched about a month for the Dodgers. He's still got 1 year left on that deal next year. I imagine he's going to miss some time next year as they finally get some resolution. But I expect him to be in Major League Baseball again. Oh, 0-2 now on d'Arnaud. Yeah, that was the reason why the Players Association and the league were kind of like, what are we going to do? He's technically not been arrested or not been charged legally, so there's really nothing there that they can say, hey, point their finger at and say you did something wrong. Yeah, Trevor Bauer. But yeah, he's been getting paid. They're going to have to find some type of resolution. Baseball doesn't need this fiasco keep going and going and going. They need some type of resolution and fast. They do not want that storyline taking over one of the top teams in all of baseball this offseason. So I expect that story to probably get resolved either Yep. It's always a can of worms, I agree. Swing and a miss. Lugo gets the strikeout. To the 8th we go. 5-0 Braves in front. I could see that too, but I think that this case has already gone on, a year and a half, and we still don't have any significant resolution to it. I think next year's the year for the resolution. You look at other off-the-field incidents, look at Marcell Ozuna, who missed an entire year, got a 30-game suspension. Something like that is something you could point to as a parallel in this case. He's missed a year and a half being on the commissioner's exempt list. Maybe you're looking at a 60 to a 90-game suspension next year, but I don't think you're looking at 162 games, especially with all the issues around it as to what actually happened, etc., etc. There was more evidence in the Marcell Ozuna thing, and he only got 30 games. Not saying it's a perfect system, but it's what we got. Appreciate you joining us. Thank you. To the bottom of the 9th they go in New York. 3-1. Rays still in front there. Padres in a little bit of trouble, down 4-3 already. Yeah, but I'm just saying there's as little clarity as there is in the case for Bauer. There's still more clarity in that one than there was for Bauer. Minter's come on for the Braves. Canha, the pinch hitter here, lifts this one into center. One pitch, one away. Minter gets the job done here. Mets starting to empty that bench. Marrero due next. Yeah, but as far as like substances and that kind of a thing, that's the one thing baseball's actually taken a lot more seriously over the past 8 years or so now, 10 years now, when Alex Rodriguez really got that year-long suspension years and years and years ago. Yeah, but the Tatis Jr. thing, I mean, that's not what this is. This is very different. Marrero bounces out. 3 pitches and already 2 are retired here for Minter. Pitching very well. If he keeps this pitch count down, he probably comes back out and finishes the 9th for him too. McCann is coming up as a pinch hitter here. He is coming on for Perez. First pitch here to McCann. Tapped foul, 0-1. But yeah, my favorite part about sports is always the off-the-field stuff, not necessarily the suspensions and things like that. Yeah, trying to get rid of him. Put him in timeout and hit him and all that kind of stuff, and they just come back with a slightly different username and stuff like that. My moderator taking care of it right now. At least they've changed it up a little bit more than what it was when we had the trade deadline. I think it was a different one. Different name they used. Still the same logo, still the same chat stuff afterward, though. The 1-2 pitch here by Minter. Tapped foul again. We'll do it over. Appreciate you guys joining us. Ruggs is done. His career is over. He's never going to play another snap in the NFL. I think he's actually serving prison time. I think he got, 2 years? Did he get 2 years or did he get more than that? I can't remember. He's not getting a slap on the wrist. I think he's already been sentenced. Yeah. No, he's actually on arrest. He's still in prison. Let me look up the... Just reading the report right now, anyway. They haven't sentenced him yet, but he could face up to 50 years in prison. Do I think he will face 50 years? No, but I think he'll at least face some prison time. I remember seeing him in the box in the wheelchair after that accident. He injured himself as well in that car crash. In addition to the young lady whose dog was also in the vehicle, perished as well. They're throwing the book at him, I guarantee it. I think you're very likely to get probably 10 years. 10, 15 years. He'll never play another down in the NFL. The Raiders had a very bad year for press. Their cornerback as well had gun charges on him or whatever. They cut him. They had another one who had made statements that were not good to another person. I don't want to say it out loud on the chat or on the live anyway, because I don't need it getting in trouble, but yeah. Yeah. Exactly. That one's lifted out into right. Marte makes the catch at the wall against Contreras. No, not Josh Jacobs. It was the cornerback. Two cornerbacks, I believe. Ruggs. Then, of course, you had the Gruden thing. But no, Josh Jacobs, they're actually, depending on who you believe, they were actually shopping him during the Hall of Fame game. McDaniels, of course, comes out afterward and says, no, we're not trying to trade him. But I believe they could get, or if you come to with the right offer anyway to the Raiders, you could have Josh Jacobs. A team like the Browns, who have a running back in Kareem Hunt, who's also requested a trade anyway. I wonder if something like that might make sense for both teams. Second out there. Alonso making the soft catch. No, Abrams is the safety. He's being moved down to linebacker. He hasn't gotten in any trouble anyway. It was the cornerback. Was it Terrell? A.J. Terrell? Was that the cornerback's name? I know there was another one out of Ohio State that got in trouble. I can't remember his name. Arnett. That's it. Arnett. That was the guy that made the statements that were not so friendly. And they ended up cutting him. I didn't hear that one. But yeah, Vegas was not a good place for off-the-field headlines last year. Double-barreled action out there in the Braves bullpen. Iglesias loosening out there. Another trade deadline acquisition. Oh, okay. I couldn't remember who it was. It was Arnett. Little tapper out to McNeil, and that should do it for the 8th. We go to the ninth. Braves in front, 5-0. No runs, 3 hits, 1 error for the Mets. 5 runs, 8 hits, no errors for the Braves. A dominant performance today by Charlie Morton. 11 great starts in a row now for him. Appreciate that. Thank you for the subscribe. Yeah, that was it. We've already checked in on the AL standings while we wait for the bottom or the top of the ninth anyway. Just flip over the NL standings. Dodgers, of course, running away with the NL West and, of course, the entire NL lead anyway. 5 games up on the Mets and change. Mets have the lead in the NL East. However, the Braves are on their heels, about 4 games back. They'll close within probably 3.5 games, I believe, after this one. Cardinals right now lead the division in the Central, but I believe Milwaukee's going to overtake them. They're only 2 back right now, but again, I love that starting staff for the Brewers, and the pieces that they acquired at the deadline I think will help them get the job done. They know how to win those close games anyway. San Diego's dropped into that last wild card spot. I think the news or the slow start that they had after Soto got there offensively, they've now corrected those issues, and their offense is starting to come around. Phillies are hoping to get Bryce Harper back, but we'll see which version of Bryce Harper we get. And it will be Iglesias on here for the ninth. He'll face Nimmo, Marte, and Lindor. In 45 games so far, Iglesias has 41 1/3 innings pitched, a 3.7 ERA, 55 strikeouts to 10 walks. And as I stated earlier, tonight we'll have our update right at 10 o'clock. Seems like this game is fairly close to ending. Go over our daily sports update. You can find those. Upside DSU is how we'll label them, and then have the some of the news items after that for that day. So make sure you follow us here on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. Follow us on Twitter. We'll post on there, but whenever we do go live, let you guys know where you can find us. Appreciate all the help we've gained over the past couple of weeks, upgrading our presentation that we have on here. And there's still more coming. That one misses away, and it's 1-1. Iglesias signed that big contract this offseason. Still is owed $15 million next year, the year after, and the year after that. For those of you wondering, in the top of the ninth anyway, Manny Machado led off with a single. It's now Josh Bell to be followed by Cronenworth and Myers. See if they can tack on a run here and bring themselves even in the top of the ninth. Soto is on second anyway. Runners on first and second now with 1 out after Josh Bell strikes out. 3-2 now the count on Brennan Nimmo. We'll flip over to the end of that one here if this game continues. Nimmo tosses the bat to the dugout and hustles down to first base. Iglesias walks the leadoff man here in the ninth. Marte due next. Heart of this Mets order due. Twins have now extended their lead 6-0 against the Royals. Have the bases loaded with nobody, or with 2 outs anyway. I wouldn't say that. Bell's a pretty good hitter. He's just not quite lived up to the lofty expectations some teams have placed on him. Pirates thought he was a savior. He's not a savior, but he's a very good first baseman. Will hit for a good average, hit for solid power, get you to 20 to 25 home runs, but that's not, Hall of Fame level first baseman that he was originally thought he could be. Marte now 1-1. Welcome in, Brandon. Yeah, that 96 roster was very loaded. I don't know if it was the top 5 roster in baseball history of all time, but it might be in the top 2 or 3 of Braves rosters. Welcome in, David. Phil's got a nice victory. Braves are beating the Mets. We'll flip over to that Phillies game here in a minute. Or not the Phillies game, but the Padres game. Right at the bottom of the zone, 2-2. Marte didn't like that one. Showalter didn't either. Thank you, David. Just got that before I came on the air and the shave. Literally just as I got on the air and finished shaving. Had to clean it up anyway. It was getting a little awkwardly shaped. Little tapper out to short. Swanson flips on to second, on to first, a double play. 2 outs, and the leadoff walk is erased. Well, with 1 out here, Lindor due up. I'm going to flip over to that Padres game just to check in on it. Thank you, David. Appreciate that. One and 2 on Jake Cronenworth. Florio is pitching for the Marlins, trying to shut the door. That one is above the zone. 2-2. Braves did blow it in 96. All those years, all those division crowns. You saw that the 3-headed monster that they had at the rotation, Maddox, Glavine, and Smoltz, they had a kind of a outdoor interview, kind of a roundtable discussion about that length of time to be with the Atlanta Braves, all 3 Hall of Famers. I don't think the Mets will score a run tonight, unfortunately. They're down to their final out. Well, time there. We'll flip over to the Mets again. 1-1 on Lindor. Misses down low. 2-1. Rockies have taken the lead against the Cardinals now. 4-3 in the bottom of the 7th. Nice play by Olsen to stab it. Iglesias covers and gets the final out of the game. Mets lose 5-0. Let's flip back over that Padres game real quick. Yeah, they were in revenge mode. Looks like Cronenworth just went down on strikes. Padres down to their final out. Will Myers is the batter. Right on right here. Really? If they get another cheap deal, wow. 8 for 72 would be an absolute bargain. Oh my goodness. Wow. Even if they get him for 8 for 90. Wow. because that takes a couple of years of free agency. Myers now down 0-2. Padres down to their final strike against the Marlins. For those of you who are Rangers fans watching the stream, Josh Young has hit yet another home run tonight. He has 2 3-run homers, has an OPS of 1,524 AAA at-bats so far. He is going to be a September call-up. Wow. If he has that level of production going forward, he wasn't necessarily a great home run hitter before. He's turned into one since his injury. Florio powers that one past Will Myers, and the Padres lose 4-3. Braves know how to pick them. If they can get that type of a deal, just imagine. Say he turns into just an okay player, for Michael Harris anyway. Even at that deal, having the cost certainty, that would be a trade chip even if he doesn't live up to any type of prolific level of talent. That's a great deal for the Braves, and it is generational money. You're right about that, Clay. Padres lose, Phils win, Braves win. A lot of movement there in the National League today. Dodgers would smoke the Mets. I don't know. They just lost Walker Buehler for the year. Kershaw's out due to injury. Dustin May's coming back. They're getting thin in that starting staff right now. I wonder about their longevity going forward. But before we log off, let's just check in with a couple of games. Remember, at 10 o'clock, we're going to have our daily sports update anyway, so make sure you join us for that. We'll touch on a lot of the different topics we talked about today anyway. But in the top of the 10th and extras anyway, Cubs and Nationals tied at 4. Top of the 9th, Tigers 4-3 over the Guardians. Top of the 8th, Twins 6-0 over the Royals. 4-4 now in that Rockies and Cardinals game. Rangers just got on the board. It's now 3-1 Oakland in front. Rangers still up, have a couple of runners on. Astros 3-1 over the White Sox in the bottom of the 6th. Brewers back in front over the Dodgers 3-2. The Angels have taken a 1-0 lead over the Mariners and were scoreless in the Giants and Diamondbacks game. Games that have already been completed today. Tampa Bay sends the Yankees to yet another loss. That's 2 wins in their last 13 games for the New York Yankees. Things are not going well in New York. They continue to tumble. Red Sox beat the Pirates 5-3. Orioles held off the Blue Jays 4-2. They right now are a half game back of the Blue Jays right now. And the Braves, of course, beat the Mets 5-0. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. If you guys have any questions, make sure you send them here. Let us know. Even if Harris busts, it's not a bad deal. $9 million for a mediocre center fielder isn't awful. Yeah, teams have paid a lot more for great defenders and horrible offense. Harris seems to at least have some type of a stick. One other game, of course, that went final was the Marlins beating the Padres 4-3 and the Phillies 11-4 over the Reds. But yeah, that contract, if true, 8 years for 72. That's a great deal for both team and player. Got to wonder, though, if Harris is going to hold out to see next year if they can offer him a little bit more money, see if he can get a great deal. But the Braves have done a great job of locking up their young players on really cost-effective, club-friendly deals. All 4 of their core 4 have been locked up. If they can add Harris to that, if he becomes a superstar, look out for them to be a perennial favorite in the National League. But thank you guys for joining us, and remember to join us at 10 o'clock tonight for our live. Going to have a little bit of dinner right now before we do that, but we'll go over all the storylines that have happened around the league today in Major League Baseball, touch on a lot of NFL news as well, a little bit out of the NBA today, and of course the NHL always is good for 1 or 2 headlines. But thank you guys again for joining us. For those of you who didn't get to see the game anyway, Charlie Morton goes 6 2/3, allows 3 runs, 1 walk, But the story, of course, was the 12 strikeouts absolutely dominated the Mets today. They just couldn't get anything off the ground. Taijuan Walker got the start for the Mets, pitched 2 decent innings. However, his command was off, and we found out later why. He was pulled after 2 innings because of back spasms. Sounds like it was largely precautionary, so don't worry too much, Mets fans. But it sounds like the Mets didn't have their A game today, so we'll see if they can do a little bit better tomorrow. But we'll see you guys at about 10 o'clock. Appreciate you guys joining the live, and we'll see you guys